the Google Pixel 3. The Google Pixel 3 has been in my pocket for about a month now, and I have a lot to say about it. Now, let me explain this format before I get into it. I make two videos, one with the positives, one with the negatives. I already made a video with the positives. This is the negatives one. If you want to check that out, I'll have it linked up here and in the description as well. So be sure to check that out after this or right now as well. And the thing, I like to separate these two because it doesn't mix with my thoughts. I like to focus on the positives in one, negatives in another, and this one is going to be the negative. So before you think I'm a Google hater or an Apple fanboy or a Samsung fanboy or OnePlus fanboy, I don't even know now because I get called so many fanboys now, I don't even know which one I am supposed to be. But the Google is not, I love the Google Pixel 3. I carry it around despite all of its issues, but I can't stop and not say these issues. I have to acknowledge them and understand why they're there. So let's get into it with number one, and that is why it only has 4 gigs of RAM. I do not understand this. Last year, the Pixel 2 was suffering. 8 months in, people were already noticing slowdowns. It was really not good. Even though it was optimized in software department, just the hardware was not doing well. And MKBHD himself was having issues, and for him to make a video saying it, that's a big deal because he doesn't cover topics lightly. He makes sure that everything's really an issue before he really makes a video and puts that statement out there. And it was happening to me as well. The Pixel 2 was slowing down a lot, and as a phone, I wasn't really enjoying it. As a camera, I loved it, but as a phone, the Pixel 2 was ridden with issues due to performance, and I fear the Pixel 3 is going to be on the same path in 6 months down the road because already it only has the 845 processor. It's going to be outdated in a few months now. The 855 has already been announced, and it is a huge improvement over the 845. And I just don't think that with this 4 gigs of RAM and the 845, this one's going to be able to keep up with anything that comes out this year, let alone stuff that actually came out right now. So it's a big thing. And I don't know why Google cheaped out. It's not like we're paying less for this phone. It's not like we're buying a budget phone. This is an expensive phone that very clearly skipped out on RAM because they thought they could, because they thought the iPhone got away with it. But in reality, iPhone got away with it because of iOS. Android needs at least 6 or 8 gigs of RAM in the current condition it's at right now, in my opinion. Moving on, let's talk about the power and volume buttons. Now, I always hate when power and volume buttons are on the same side, but this one is a little bit more annoying because one, they're pretty close together, so it's hard to discern which is which when you're not paying attention. And 2, they feel the same. It's very hard to differentiate by feel. If the home button is, the power and volume are generally on the same side, a lot of times manufacturers put in a textured button or a button that's larger than the other, so it's a little bit easier to understand which is which. But this one is just, it's just two very similar buttons. It's hard to know which you're hitting. A lot of times I'll just hit the middle of the volume button, expecting the phone to unlock or lock. And a lot of times I'll hit the power button for volume up, which is frustrating. It just doesn't feel right. It would have been very easy to put one of those buttons, the power or the volume, on the other side and call it a day, make it easy for everyone else. But I don't know why Google kept it both on the same side and both so close and didn't differentiate the buttons at all in feel. Number 3, the back finish, this matte finish. So if you guys saw, if you were following the launch, you guys know that the matte back of this, the glass, the finish, the coating, whatever you call it, wow, that's a lot of words, is very prone to scratches. It scratches up easily and does not go away. The only way to make it go away is apparently using soap water and scrubbing the phone with a brush, which I'm not going to do. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Nobody should have to do that to their phone. And that's why I went with the white one this time, because I knew that the white would hide the smudges a lot better than the black. People were having issues with the phone the minute they took it out of the box, especially in that black finish, because you could clearly tell the scratches in that finish. Now, that means that the black one is probably definitely going to be a case-worthy one, but this, I thought I would get away with it. But looking at it up close, here's a clip. I tried to portray it as best as I could. Just look at it. These smudges, they just don't want to go away. I rubbed at it. I did everything I could, but it just seems like it's in there. And there are some minute scratches as well that you're not going to be able to see on camera. It just doesn't pick it up. I tried to rub those away with my fingers as well. They just don't go away. And I've used this phone in a case. In specific, this Ringkey one, which I'm just going to give them a quick shout out because they sent me this one for free to try out. They didn't pay me to say it's good or anything, but it's actually really good. And it fixes my problem with that power button because the power button on this is textured, and the volume up and down, they're actually curved upwards and downwards, so you know which one is which. This one case fixes two problems for me, which is the smudges and the power buttons and the button confusion. And getting back to it, it's just, I don't understand why Google didn't, I mean, I'm sure they tested this and they knew that it was scratching. I don't know why they didn't change the formula or just leave the glass to be a just clear, normal glass. It's just they had to do something, and unfortunately this one just didn't work out, and I'm pretty sure they knew about it and still went ahead with it, which is even worse. Number 4, the price. I do not know where Google got the balls to sell this phone for $800. This phone is not worth $800. I don't care how good the camera is. If I wasn't doing YouTube, if I didn't do this, $800 would not be spent on this device. I won't recommend this either to anyone unless they absolutely love taking photos, because $800 is a lot of money for buying a lot of compromises. There's a lot of compromises you're making, and you can get a lot more for $800, to be very honest with you. Obviously, that camera performance won't be there, but I feel like for $800, the base model, mind you, the Pixel 3, 64 gigs, no add-ons, $800 without tax. That's a big amount of money. That's almost $860 after taxes. I don't know why Google did this. $650 was the sweet spot for this phone. Google themselves know it, because after 4 weeks of this phone being on sale, just 4 weeks, they discounted it to $650 for Black Friday, and I'm hoping at least it's sold at that point, because I don't think anyone who's not a YouTuber probably bought this phone for $800. That would be stupid. Not to mention that the XL goes all the way up to very close to $1,000, which there's no way the Pixel is a $1,000 phone. It's not even an $800 phone, let alone a $1,000 phone. Number 5, this is such an Apple move, but Apple didn't do it, which makes it weird as to why Google did it. And that is, fast wireless charging is locked on the Pixel 3. It will only work if you use Pixel's own stand. So wireless charging is done, the fast wireless charging charges at 10 watts, and 10 watts is locked on this phone. So you can't put it on a 10 watt fast charger and expect it to charge at 10 watts. I think it's limited to 7.5 watts. To get the full 10 watts, you have to buy their $70 wireless charger, which, to be frank, doesn't look that good. And that's the only one which will allow that. And to top it all off, there's features such as slideshow and stuff, which is only going to work on their stand. So that means that you have to shell out $70 to access wireless fast charging, which Apple didn't charge for, surprisingly, and for a slideshow feature, which is very easy to be enabled on any wireless charger. I don't know why you need to have Google's one. But that's just another thing where they want you to give them more money, but that money's not justified. You're not getting enough of a benefit out of it, and they're just doing it to make a quick buck, which I don't like. Moving on, let's talk about the gesture bar on Android 9.0. So the gesture bar is extremely confusing. It still needs to be fixed a lot. The biggest issue I have is swiping up for the menu. Whenever I do it, it's too far of a sweep up for you to get to menu. So generally I like to do this much. Okay, I get it, not this much. So I do this much. No, you actually have to literally swipe to halfway above the screen for it to go into your app drawer, and there's no way for you to change it, no way for you to customize it, no way for you to get rid of it. That's the way you have to access your app drawer, and it is infuriating because I like the gesture, I like this control, I like this way of doing it, but it needs to be improved significantly because it's very annoying. Not to mention the black, just having back here, it's very confusing to me. I don't know what's going on with this. Definitely needs to be reworked. Definitely needs to be improved, in my opinion. I think right now the iPhone is doing it the best with no issues. Number 2 is OnePlus. OnePlus's gesture navigation is also excellent. There's no buttons, there's no nothing. You just swipe up from the bottom for home, swipe on the left side of the screen for back, and that's it. As simple as that. No weird, it's just simple, which I think Google should have kept it at. They didn't. They made it way too confusing, and I really don't like that you have to swipe halfway above the screen to actually access your app drawer. I know a lot of people have gotten used to it. I still haven't. Every time I do it, it just feels awkward. So moving on, let's talk about those cameras. So the camera is amazing on this phone. It's the main reason I carry it, but there are a few issues about it, and I'd like to discuss that. Starting off with the fact that this does not have a dual camera setup. It has a dual camera on the front, but it does not on the back. It's like Google, they played themselves on this one because they're like, single camera is best. We don't need dual camera on the Pixel 2. And then the Pixel 3, we're still going to say single camera, but only in the back. Because in the front, we're going to give you 2 cameras because we know that 2 cameras are more helpful than 1. And that's silly to me. You've done it on the front, do it on the back, and make it easier on us. Give us a wide angle, give us a telephoto, anything to improve functionality. You've got great software. Adding some great hardware would just make the experience even better. And that's what you're not doing, which drives me nuts. And at $800, there's no reason for you not to do it. That just doesn't make sense to me. And another issue that's related with just the entire phone experience is the battery life. The battery life is pathetic on this phone, and it gets absolutely worse when you start taking photos. So if you're taking photos consistently, the battery demolishes itself. I mean, I took photos for 30 minutes, and I think I drained like 30 or 40% of my Pixel 2 battery a month ago. And the battery's fine. It's, when you're not taking photos, it lasts a decent amount, but even that's not great compared to other phones. But the battery is too small in this, and just the way the processor is doing its work, I don't think it's efficient enough because you're not getting decent battery life. You need to charge this phone 2 to 3 times a day to make it work. And I don't know. The 3XL I'm not sure about. This is just my experience with the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 2. When you're taking photos, the battery, if you're planning on taking a day full of photos, you better have like a portable charger with you because that's the only way you're going to make it work. Moving on, let's focus on the camera. And another thing that bugs me is that there is no 60 frame per option selection mode. Like, you cannot select your camera to be stuck in 60 FPS. So on the iPhone, you have the option to stay at 60 FPS on 1080, 4K, and 720 as well. But with this, you don't have there's no 4K 60 recording at all in the first place. And then with 1080 and 720, it's auto selection. So if Google thinks the processor can handle it and the conditions are okay, it'll give you 60 FPS. Otherwise, you're locked in at 30 FPS, which is insane. I mean, come on. Every phone now gives you the option. There's budget phones that give you the option. OnePlus has 4K 60 FPS. Snapdragon 845 can support it. There's no reason why Google shouldn't include that. And again, there's just some decisions Google's made that baffles me because I can't explain it. When others ask me, I can't explain it. I can't even explain it to myself. I can't even give myself an excuse as to why Google did that. And it just drives me nuts. And wrapping it up, just a little small thing, is when you're taking video, the audio quality just doesn't seem up to the mark. I don't know what it is. It's not as loud, it's not as clear, and it feels like you took it on a phone. It doesn't feel like the audio quality is top notch. There's something lacking with it, especially when you compare it side by side with an iPhone XS. The quality is on a different level. Leave the XS, even the 10 is so much better when it comes to video. It doesn't make sense. So for photos, the Pixel 3 is definitely the best, but when it comes to videos, the Pixel 3 lacks so far behind that I think that the overall, the overall usage of the camera gets severely impacted because that means that the best part of this is the still photos, not the video, and I think that both of them need to be good. I mean, I'm not saying I need the best of the best, but I need the video to be good as well because for me, I take just as many videos as I take photos, and I want my video to be smooth. I want it to be adjusted to what I wear on it, and audio needs to be good as well. So that wraps it up, guys. Again, I'm going to give you a clean. I don't hate the Pixel 3. It's just some things about it drive me nuts, and I have to get it out there to let you guys know, to let people who are thinking about buying this phone know where the issues with this phone lie, and that's what this video is all about. So let me know what you guys think about the Pixel 3. Are there things that you don't like about it? Are there things about Google that you don't understand right now, like me? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to start a discussion with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.